Hey friends, it's Ian Khan here, author of Undisrupted, and today I have a really special guest in this video. I've got Chester Elton here, best-selling author. He's kind of the person I would look up to when it comes to organizational culture, organizational strategy. You know, what do you do in a business, in an organization, small, medium, large enterprise, what have you? How do you change the culture and shift people's thinking? Chester, welcome to this interview.
Ian, delighted to spend some time with you. Thank you for the invite.
So let's start here. How did you end up where you are as somebody who can help so many businesses and organizations understand really what is at the core of being efficient, being able to create value, and doing all the incredible things that they do? Tell us about your journey.
That's a great question. You know, like most journeys, you don't do it by yourself. You know, I have a wonderful co-author who's become my best friend in the world, Adrian Gostick. And we've written 15 books together over the last couple of decades, which is an amazing partnership when you think that most marriages don't last that long.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, our journey is a fun one. I grew up in sales. Adrian grew up as a writer, you know, and a communications director. And we found each other at a company we were working with together. And I had an idea as a salesperson that we were selling recognition programs, which I think is really an important part of any culture, that core of gratitude. Are we telling people how much we value them and how much their work means to us? So I had this idea to call our CEO at the time. We had a great relationship. And I said, you know, if we were to write the seminal book on employee recognition and gratitude, as a salesperson, my life would be a lot easier. So it was completely self-serving, Ian. It was like, if we were the experts, then people would call us and I wouldn't have to cold call. And no one's written the definitive book on employee recognition. And he said, you know, I love that idea. His name's Kent Murdoch. We're still great friends, even though he's long retired. Yeah. Write the book. And it was one of those moments where I said, you know, Kent, that's not what I said. I didn't say I wanted to write the book. I thought we, as in the company, as in you, should write the book. And then I would benefit from this book. And the game changer, as always, you know, when you talk about disruption, is he said, you know what, you're a smart guy, figure it out. Isn't that a wonderful challenge?
Yeah.
So he did. So I started to think about, now, you know, as a salesperson, you have crushing quotas. And I was thinking about titles and chapters. And he called me back. And this is what I love about disruptors, right? Is he called me back and said, look, I've been thinking about this book idea. I've just hired a writer. His name is Adrian Gostick. Introduce yourself and write the book. So, you know, here I am. I'm focused on all my sales and everything. And I've got a CEO that says, write a book. And I'm thinking, talk about the ultimate disruption, right?
I know.
Anyway, Adrian and I meet each other at the sales conference. He was born in England, grew up in Canada. So we had that Canadian hockey thing, you know, going on.
Yeah.
And we wrote our first book, Managing with Carrots. So orange is our favorite color. And we have a carrot mascot. What developed over the years, to make this a lot shorter than it should be, is that we graduated from this core value of gratitude and recognition to culture. What are the key elements of a great culture? How do you engage, enable, and energize your people? How do you create a culture where people believe what they do matters, they make a difference? And when they make a difference, it's noticed and celebrated. So in a nutshell, there it is, from sales guy to best-selling author. Who knew?
Yeah, I love it. How important is culture for any organization? Let's talk about small business, right? Forget the large, big enterprises. Let's start with small business, small, medium business. Is culture important for them as well? Or is it hustle, 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 and, you know, let's get the job done?
Yeah, well, it's both, obviously, right? When you're small, you are hustling and so on. The thing is culture is your biggest differentiator. You know, people can replicate your products and services, your pricing, your locations, and all that kind of stuff. It's very hard to replicate a culture. And that comes right from the leader, particularly in small and medium-sized businesses, right? And it's so interesting. I was just down in New Orleans with a wonderful restaurant group called BB's. It's Tex Orleans, you know, food. It's gumbo. It's crawfish. They have 13 restaurants, or they call them stores. And we were talking about this. What is culture?
Yeah.
And, you know, it came down to, they said, you know, it's a feeling. It's an emotional connection. Like when you walk into a store or you engage even online, there's a feeling you get that this is a good place to work. These are good people doing good things. And so the whole idea there is, how do you create a culture where people really do want to come to work?
Yeah.
That they feel like, if they don't come to work, people are going to miss them. I always love that. I said, you've got an engaged employee when they go, I've got to come to work. If I don't show up, they'll miss me. Right.
Yeah.
And that's where we really got into, our writings around leading with gratitude and creating an all-in culture. And what are the principles and what do great leaders do to create that kind of culture?
Yeah. I love that. I also tend to think, and I talk about this a lot. I cover just very little on culture, just broadly. And I say beyond the paycheck, when somebody's being paid for their wages, and amazing, that's why many people work, they want to get paid. Beyond the paycheck, the reason why somebody will wake up in the morning and want to go to work is culture. It's because the sense of belonging. It's the sense of camaraderie. It's the sense of love. It's the sense of appreciation that they get that fulfills them. And that's why they're working for you. It's not just the paycheck that everybody wants. And it's so important, given if you're a success-focused organization, I think as a leader, you should start thinking about what kind of a culture is your business going to have, even if you're just starting off a business, right? You'll find bodies to do work. You'll find ChatGPT to do your work, many things, and automate things. But when you have people in there, because you can't run a business only on automation, when you have people in there, what about culture? Start building that from the ground up. In your book, what are some of the recommendations that you would say or advocate for that? Hey, start here. Do this and that to get started when you're building culture?
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I love your insight around what a culture is, where you can find bodies. What do you want to be known for? And we in our sessions just yesterday in New Orleans, we were talking about, what is your word? Like, what word is it that drives you? If you want a culture of innovation should probably be the word that you use a lot, right? Do you want a culture of service? Do you want a culture of caring? You have a lot of companies, small to mid-size, they say, we want a family atmosphere. We want people to feel like family. Okay, so if that's what you want, what are the attributes and traits of a healthy family, right? And again, it comes from the leader. I'm part of this wonderful leadership group called the 100 Coaches that was formed by Marshall Goldsmith.
Oh, excellent! Yeah,
and I always laugh with Marshall because Marshall is this bigger than life person. I mean, we've become actually quite good friends, and I always laugh with him. And I go, Marshall, I know why I would want you to be my friend. I'm just not sure why you want me to be your friend. The great thing about Marshall is how gracious he is and how giving he is. And how he creates a safe culture to talk about really difficult things, right? And so as you start your business and so on, it's a great admonition that you just gave people. What kind of culture do you want? Do you want a culture that is community oriented? Do you want a culture that's customer focused? Do you want a culture that's employee focused? And then really drill down on what that is. I love the exercise that says, what word do you want to own? You think about automobiles, when you think of safety, you think of Volvo. Are Volvos the safest cars on the road? Well, no, almost all the cars are super safe, right?
Yeah, I agree,
Yeah, but when you think of safety, you think of Volvo. So what word do you want to own? Is it service, right? Is it caring? Is it on-time delivery? Whatever it might be. And when you start to drill down on there, how do you do it? Now, our latest book that we wrote is called Anxiety at Work. Because what we found, Ian, is in these great cultures, and again, the foundation has always been gratitude. People feel valued and appreciated. In leading with gratitude, the core principle that I always want people to walk away with is assume positive intent. And assume that your people come to work and want to do a great job. They're going to make mistakes. You can figure the mistakes. You make it safe. You don't assume that people are coming to work to sabotage. The pandemic, which changed everything, and I know we refer to that probably more than we should, but the levels of anxiety just skyrocketed. And it became the thing that everybody knew about, although they didn't want to talk about it, right? So we really took a deep dive on what are 8 strategies on how in business you can identify and work through the anxiety of your employees.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, you talk about building a great business. I want great people. I always love to ask in our workshops and our executive coaching and whatnot, do you have a rock star in your team? And everybody's got a rock star. So great. And what do you do when you're in a real crunch, timely deadline? What do you do with your rock stars? And the answer is load them up. We give them more. Why? Because they'll never say no. So in our work, it was really interesting that we found the most anxious employees were almost always your top performers.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful with them. You got to be asking the right questions. You got to tune in. If we're saying yes to this, what are we saying no to? And realizing that everybody's got something. And right now, employees don't want a leader or a workplace just to help them become better worker bees. The bar has been raised. I want you to help me become a better person.
Yeah.
You think about that, Ian. That's a radical shift.
Yeah.
And addressing, what's going on in your personal life, the ripple effect of work into your personal life, the anxiety, the stress is so important to address, because the number one cause of uncertainty or of anxiety is uncertainty. So are you communicating? Do you know your team? Do you know what motivates them? Do you know where they want to go? Interestingly enough, the number one reason millennials are leaving their jobs now isn't for pay anymore. It's growth. Am I growing? Am I developing? So to your point about culture, are you creating an atmosphere where people want to come to work? They feel like they're valued, they're appreciated, and they've got room to grow. And when it gets super stressful and it's getting crazy, do you have those tools to work through it, to say, hey, look, we love you, we value you, we're going to work through this together because we really want to keep you. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, total sense. It makes total sense. And it's taking me into this idea that, of who millennials and what have you, going to work, or companies attracting the right talent, because that's also a problem in many industries, is the inability to find the right talent. I really feel it starts at values. If companies, organizations start attracting people with the same values as they have, and people who need employment find companies that have the same values as them to a certain extent, I think the fit is much better, because then you're in full alignment of doing whatever value creation you need to do, serving something, building something, doing whatever it is. And I think it's easier to then build a culture, or bring them into the culture of what your organization is. I think it's so complex, the science of, I guess, culture and how organizations can optimize it. It's incredible. What is your foresight on the next 5 to 10 years as newer generations come into the workforce? What should organizations do to make it easy for everybody to have incredible experiences at work? What should they do?
That is a really good question. If I knew what was going to happen in 5 years, I'd be playing the market and be in Vegas, I think that's such a tough question, because the pace of change is so incredible right now, right? With AI and global expansion and changes in government and, alliances and tariffs and whatever. I think, at the granular level, to attract the best people and keep them, is back to what you talked about, is creating a culture of learning. What am I learning? How am I growing? How am I developing? I think the best leaders are no longer like the command and control. Even the visionaries, they're coaches.
Yeah.
If I were to ask you, Ian, over and above your family, who are the people that impacted your life the most? My guess is you would say there was a teacher that believed in me. There was a coach that pushed me. I had a mentor at a place I worked or whatever that saw something in me and pushed me to be more. Like my CEO, Kent Murdoch.
Yeah.
Write the book. You're a smart guy. Figure it out. And so in the future, if you want to be a world-class leader that's going to attract world-class people, create a coaching and learning culture, and understand that more than ever, you're not going to keep your people for 20 years. They're going to grow and develop. And the legacy of a great leader is, how many great leaders did they create? What's your leadership genealogy, your leadership tree? And more than anything, I honestly believe, Ian, that right now And in the next few years, at least, I don't know if it's 5, it's certainly 2 to 3.
Yeah.
You've got to create a mentally healthy culture where people can talk about tough things.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we are online 24/7, right? The old country song about, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, let's go have a drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with that, we're on call, the pressure to be available all the time. And so this idea of creating this place where I can learn, grow, and develop, and as a person, I've got boundaries, and I'm mentally healthy. Let me ask you. I mean, you're a best-selling author. You're doing all these summits and all this kind of stuff. How do you deal with your stress and your anxiety? Because I know you've got it, right? And there's no author that's not anxious about a book launch, right?
I think everybody's anxious, and there's 2 ways I look at it. If one way of looking at it is, learn how to deal with it in a better way, because you're never not going to have stress and anxiety. And if you don't have them, then you're not doing anything that is working on growing you and stripping you off your layers, off whatever. It's not really pushing you forward. So you'll always have stress and anxiety. You just need to be better about it. You meditate, you go to the gym, you work out, go into the sauna, steam, do all those physical body related things that are going to impact your body, because the body has a very close connection to the mind. The mind is all where the stress is. So that's one part of what I do. The other part is just being able to make decisions that help me look for solutions for the problems that I have, and the things that I cannot solve. I absolutely cannot solve the sun's, rising from the east, setting in the west, the traffic, the weather. I can't control them. I am learning how to not attach myself to them and ignoring them. And these are couple of things that I do on a daily basis just to kind of get through the day. And yeah, there's times where I don't have an answer and where I need to go and walk. I need to go run. I need to do any of those things just to clear my mind. So yeah, it's just a trial and error, honestly.
Well, and here's, you've hit on a really important point around great cultures. And that is, what are your rituals? And you've got a ritual: meditate, sauna, go run, or whatever. Great cultures have great rituals and symbols. We've got a wonderful client where they call it 10 and 10, the 10 minutes at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, where they engage their employees. Wonderful restaurant group called Texas Roadhouse. They have rally alleys where they have their songs and their chants, and people are engaged. So that creates a ritual and an expectation where we're together, we're cheering for each other. Again, that gratitude and so on. And it's the same in our personal lives. I've got 12 daily rituals that I try to get to every day. Journaling, a gratitude journal, and to your point, meditation and walking and reading scriptures and so on. That's all part of a great culture. And again, it speaks to not only productivity, it speaks to your mental health. And that's why, our book, Anxiety at Work, was such a great book for us and our clients to say, talk about the stuff that people don't want to talk about and make it safe.
I love it. Chester, I really appreciate you spending time with us. We can go on for another hour, but we'll keep that on for another time.
Sure.
But right now, I wanted to pack this up in a tiny amount of time. And thank you for sharing all that knowledge with us. I hope our viewers and listeners are going to do some of those things that you talked about, or maybe just do one thing, or just look at their rituals for the day and come up with one ritual, not 100, not even 10, not even 5. Just do one thing consistently and then stack up one thing on top of the other, on top of the other. And where can we find you?
LinkedIn is a great place to find us. We've got a wonderful bi-weekly newsletter called the Gratitude Journal, which is a great place to go. Thecultureworks.com is our main website. Lots of free giveaways on how to create a great culture, rituals, and tokens. So I really appreciate you giving me the time to talk about things to report us. Good luck with your book. Sell a million.
All right. Thanks so much. Thank you, and take care. We'll be in touch.
Cheers.